Hello and welcome back to Allie's Golden Hour. My name is Allie. Today we're back in my Christmas kitchen because I wanted to share a very special recipe with you. This is an heirloom recipe that's been passed down by my grandmother. It is our date roll coffee cake, and this is a recipe that we have made, or my grandmother made, for a very long time on Christmas Eve or the night before, and we would always have it on Christmas morning as we're opening our gifts. So it's very nostalgic. It is a take on a cinnamon roll recipe. So I know many families make cinnamon rolls for Christmas morning. This is just our variation, except it has a rich date filling along with those brown sugar and cinnamon notes. So it is absolutely delicious, and it creates a beautiful presentation, which makes it great for gift giving as well as just having it for breakfast or dessert. You can gift it, so it's a very versatile recipe. I'm excited to share it with you today. Let's get started. So I wanted to share with you where I'm getting the recipe from. This is my grandmother's Kitchen Clips recipe book. These are a collection of recipes that she's been collecting over the years. Many of them are from friends. They're on index cards. She has newspaper clippings back here, all types of different things, clippings from magazines, just recipes that she's collected. And then in the center, she has written her favorite recipes. And of course, the first one in the notebook here is the date coffee roll. And it's written in her handwriting. And I love that it has this coffee stain here. But this one was gifted to her by her best friend, Shirley Foster, right up here in the corner. You can see. And so again, like I mentioned, this is a take on a classic cinnamon roll recipe, except it's cut differently. It's not cut in rolls that we're used to. And it also has that rich date filling, which is absolutely amazing. It has warm spices, tender dough, and it comes out in a really beautiful presentation, which you'll see. But this can be adapted. So if you don't love the dates and you want to omit them, that's fine. You could just do the brown sugar and the cinnamon and maybe sprinkle in some pecans or maybe a different dried fruit that you enjoy. And what's also wonderful about this recipe is it can be made ahead of time and prepared for before holiday morning. So I don't have to worry about getting up, spending hours creating a breakfast that is beautiful in the morning. This one will be ready to go because I'm making it the night before. So we're going to go ahead and get started making the dough, which is all of the ingredients right here at the top. There is a filling and then a very simple icing recipe at the end. And this recipe does take a few hours from start to finish because we have to let the dough rise twice. And again, I'll show you how that goes, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to start with our dough, and we're going to start by adding the dry ingredients to a bowl. The first ingredient is flour. We need 4 cups of flour added to our bowl. One cup of shortening, and right here I like to buy the bricks of shortening, and 1 brick is 1 cup, and then I just take a butter knife and I chop it into cubes to make it easier. We're going to incorporate this into the flour similar to how you would a pie dough, so kind of chopping it up into cubes helps just distribute the shortening easier through the flour. So we're going to start with that. And once it's chopped up, I'll add it to the flour. I also need to add 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. One and a half. And 1 tablespoon of 3 tablespoons of sugar. One, 2, and 3. because this is a sweet dough. It's not and I'm going to use 2 forks to incorporate the shortening into my dough. I don't want my hands to melt the shortening. I just want it incorporated so it gets crumbly, similar to a pie dough. All right, so I've cut my shortening into my flour, my sugar, and salt, and this, I wanted to share with you the consistency. So it looks like pie dough, but the shortening has broken up into the flour about pea size and smaller. And if there's any big pieces in there, I usually will just break them up. But yes, I wanted to show you what it looks like. And now we're ready for the wet ingredients. The recipe calls for 1 cup of scalded milk. So to my small saucepan, I'm going to add my 1 cup. I'm using whole milk here, whole cow milk. But I believe that any milk will do here. So your milk of choice, if you are dairy free, you can try an almond or oat milk here. So to scald the milk, I'm just going to heat it up on about a medium heat until it's warm but not boiling, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. Okay, so I've been stirring this over medium heat for about a minute or 2 now, and I can tell it's scalded because it's starting to stick to the edge of my pan and my spatula. So that's how I know it's ready and it's nice and warm. So I'm just going to turn this off and work with my... So now that my milk is scalded, I need to add my egg yolks. So I'm going to add 3 slightly beaten egg yolks to my warm milk, but I don't want to scramble my eggs, so I need to temper them. I'm going to do that by adding a tiny bit of milk to my eggs so that they don't scramble. And they heat up slowly. So I'm going to whisk and pour at the same time a tiny bit of the milk. Into my eggs. There. Once they're at temperature, I can add the milk a little bit more quickly. Next, I'm going to add my scalded milk mixed with my 3 beaten egg yolks and my activated yeast. And this is just the regular yeast. I've mixed it with half a cup of warm water to get it activated. And I know it's activated because it's starting to bubble inside of my glass. I'm just going to start by adding the dissolved yeast into my milk and egg mixture, with hopefully not spilling it all over the counter. And then I'm going to add it into my dough, or my dry ingredients here. I'm going to add a little well to my dry ingredients and then pour in my milk and egg and yeast mixture. Make sure to get it all out. We don't want to waste any of that goodness. Okay. And I'm going to start by mixing just with my spoon, and then I'll probably get in with my hands a little bit to form a dough ball. The shortening in the dough batter, in the dough, makes it for a really flaky crust. It's such a yummy treat. I really do hope that you try and make it. It's not very difficult, it just takes time, but most good things in life do, right? So, okay, it's coming together now. And I think I just want to sprinkle a little bit of flour because it's pretty sticky. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of flour to my dough, and I'm going to just knead it inside the bowl a few times to really make sure that its gluten is created turn it over here. There we go. And I'm just doing that by folding it and using the heel of my hand to fold and push. And I'm just going to do this a few times. Oh, it already smells so good. I love a yeast dough. All right. It's really beautiful. All right, so here's my dough ball. It's really beautiful. I am just going to spray my bowl with a little bit of olive oil, and then I'll flip my dough ball over so that the top side also has some oil, and then I'll cover it with plastic wrap and leave it in a warm area for 1 hour. While our dough rises, we're going to get started on the filling so it has plenty of time to cool before we assemble our rolls. So the filling is very simple. It is just 1 cup of pitted dates, half a cup of sugar, and half a cup of water, and we're going to cook it down in a saucepan until it gets thick. One tip that I have for the dates is using kitchen scissors to cut them into pieces. I have found that this is the most easy way to do it, and it's also the way that my grandmother did it. So I'm just going to follow her instruction and cut them using kitchen scissors. So I've chopped up my dates, and now we just need to add half a cup of sugar and half a cup of water. And I'm going to heat this on the stove until here's how the filling is looking. This is just the dates, the sugar, and the water, and it is starting to get thick, you can see. So once it gets to this point, I use my spatula to kind of push the dates. I just kind of smush them down even more, so it gets those dates really soft and incorporated into the sauce. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I like the consistency and most of the dates are smushed and the sauce is nice and thick. So my dough has been rising in the oven, and I just put the oven light on to give it a little bit of warmth in there. And so now the step is to punch the dough down, and so that's what I'll do. It's so satisfying. And then we have to let it rise for another hour. Okay. Done. Back to bed. This is just wax paper, and then I put a clean kitchen towel on top to keep it nice and cozy. And back into the oven it goes. So my dough has risen, and it has definitely doubled in size, you can see. And so now, because this recipe makes 2 rolls, I'm going to divide it in half. Oh yeah, it's gonna be good, I can tell already. And I have my clean workstation here. I'm just going to add a little bit of flour to my workstation, and we're going to stretch out our dough. You can definitely use a rolling pin. I have found that just stretching the dough also works really well, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay. And I'm just going to stretch it out into a rectangle shape, similar to how you would do cinnamon rolls. And don't worry if you break the dough or get any little pieces that break, you can just pinch the dough back together. No problem. So you can actually make 3 rolls out of this, and that's really helpful if you are making this for gifting, or maybe you are a small family and you don't need a big roll yourself. So it is a versatile recipe in that sense. Just flip it over. So we don't want the dough too thick, and we also don't want it too thin. So I'm just going to keep working it until it's a good size rectangle here. Again, pinching together any areas that get a little bit thin. All right, we're getting there. And then we get to do the fun part. There's some thin parts over here, so I'm just going to push those back together. You also want to make sure that your dough is not sticking to the table. That will be a challenge in itself to get it off the table when you're ready. Okay, all right, now back. So remember, this makes 2 rolls, so I'm going to use half of my filling, and the filling has been cooling, and so now it's ready to use in my roll. And I should mention not to go all the way to the edge of the date roll, because we need to be able to roll it and close it up. All right, so now I will just spread the date roll mixture out onto my dough. Again, leaving some room on the edge to be able to pinch close the roll. All right, next, now that we have all the date filling on the roll, I'm going to add cinnamon, and I just eyeball it and shake however much cinnamon I want, and that's usually a lot. So once I have all the cinnamon on, then I just take a handful of brown sugar and layer that on top. And again, I just put as much as I like on the roll. It smells so good. I can't wait to eat this. I think that's probably plenty. Keep going. All right, now we need to roll our rolls. So I'm starting on the long edge, and I'm doing tight, keeping the tight rolls. And as I roll, I'm also making sure I'm pinching the edges together so that the filling does not come out the end. And I'm going to do that all the way to the other side of my roll. Try and keep it even here as well. So keep rolling. Pinching and pinching and rolling. Okay. Oh, it smells so good. And it's been raining today, and there's just something about rainy weather and cinnamon baking in the oven that is so nice. All right, now that I'm at my edge, I'm going to lift that edge over my roll really tightly. Oops, got a little breakage there. No worries. Okay, and I'm kind of gonna pinch that seam together so nothing comes out. And then when I transfer it onto my tray, I'm going to put the seam side down. Okay, so here we go. Being very quick and careful, seam side down. Okay, make it kind of squished together so it all fits on my pan. Taking a sharp knife, I'm starting at the end. However, I'm not going all the way to the end, maybe about a ½ inch in, and then going down into my roll, but not all the way to the bottom. So I'm just cutting through some of the top layers. And I'm going to do that all the way down. So this is the part that's different than a traditional cinnamon roll, where normally you would be cutting your rolls. This one you cut down the center, which makes it really different and special. And so now once we're at this part, I can kind of see inside my roll, and I'm just going to separate my layers a little bit more by pulling them apart. Pulling them apart and down. Apart and down. And I also use my knife to kind of get into those different layers, and I push them down to really help open the layers up. And the bread will continue to get bigger and like spread more once it's in the oven. And it's really a beautiful roll once it's all done. And what's extra special, if you have more time or more dates and ingredients, you can double the date roll, the date filling in this, and it's really delicious. All right, so this is ready for the oven. I'm going to set the oven to 350 degrees and bake for 25 minutes, and then I'll show you the results. Okay, so my date rolls are out of the oven. This is how they look. They're nice and golden brown on the top, and they've puffed up and the layers are all exposed. Here's the other one. This one was on the bottom rack, so it's a little bit lighter in color, but they smell amazing. And now all that's left to do is make a quick icing, and to do that I'm using 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 2 cups of powdered sugar, and 4 tablespoons of vitamin D milk, or any kind of milk that you prefer. And I'm going to go ahead and whisk that up in my measuring cup here and then drizzle it over my date rolls. The date rolls have cooled for about 30 minutes, and I did that so that the icing doesn't just run right off of the date roll. And I'm going to ice it in this pan. And so here we go. And I did it inside of my measuring cup so that it's easy to pour. And I'm just going to drizzle it on top. A nice even layer. And the other we'll save for the other date roll. But that's it. And what's great about it is it'll harden a little bit if you leave it for the night into the daytime. And then what we do is we pop it in the oven at 200 degrees for about 10 minutes on Christmas morning, and it's ready to go. It's delicious at room temp, but it's even better warm. Now it's time to try it. My husband and I have been smelling it and waiting, and we're gonna try it for you. Normally we would wait for Christmas morning, but it's for YouTube, so we're gonna try it tonight. All right, so we're gonna try the date roll. I just wanted to give you a quick like close-up of what it looks like. There's some of the layers and all of the yummy frosting on top. We're gonna give it a go. Alrighty. Go ahead.
Cheers to Christmas.
Cheers to Christmas. Cheers.
This is Christmas right here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we made 2 today, 1 for us for tomorrow and for coworkers, and then husband will help me make 2 more for our families to take down to share with our families. So we're excited to do that. But yes, this is delicious with coffee in the morning, and
I want to go to bed already.
Yeah, it's the perfect morning treat for Christmas. Well, delicious.
Of course. I'm almost done.
Well, we wish you happy holidays and Merry Christmas to your family, and we hope you have a great one, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.